Hey, what's up guys, Stefan here. In this week's episode of Producing For, we're producing for Summer Walker. We'll be drawing inspiration from London on the Track, as he has produced, or he co-produced, the vast majority of the tracks on her debut and latest studio album as of filming, and a number of the tracks produced by London on this album are built around R&B songs from the 90s. So of course we're going to take that into consideration and find our own 90s R&B song to sample. Cool, so we're done with our sample. Let's lay down some drums on top of our sample. And I'm back at it again with the Wonder Girl kit. I just love how hard these samples hit. And I have a little percussion loop from Capsun Audio and Jules Jadon. These are my guys. I use their samples in nearly all of my beats. Shout out to Capsun for showing some love in last week's video. For our final touch in regards to the drums, let's add some hi-hats. Let's quickly program in something very simple. Cool, and that's extremely simple, but it has impact already. Let's make it better by alternating the velocities on every other step. This just adds a bit of bounce. And we can also use the note repeat lane to add in a little hi-hat roll. And for the final touch, let's add another lane and assign it to start offset and push our hi-hats back just a touch so that everything is not so straight. Great, now for the meat of the track, my favorite part, the bass, and we're going to use an 808 bass today. For my 808 basses, Sub Lab is my go-to. A Sean Divine video put me onto this sometime last year and I haven't looked back since. This is your one-stop shop for 808 basses. It has a variety of 808 basses in different styles and of course provides you with the tools necessary to create your own. Like with any good VST, expansions have also been made available. You have 808s created by Richie South, Decap, and my guy Sean Divine. But for this beat, I'll be using an expansion from my brother, I Am Music Mogul. Amazing producer, great guy. Anyways, I love this 5% tint preset he created. Cool, so that sounds very dope, and this is why I rolled off so much of the bass in the sample to give me a little more freedom in what notes I wanted to play. We're still limited somewhat by the chords, but ultimately we can change the root notes of the chords with our 808 bass. Cool, so that's our verse done, and if you were paying attention, you would have noticed that the end of the verse used a different part of the sample. And we took that from one of the later choruses in the song. And I thought that this would bring us nicely into a breakdown where we can drop out all of the drums and introduce a new instrument. My piano of choice is the Gentleman from Native Instruments. This is an upright piano and I don't use this one that much these days. I mainly use the Maverick piano, which is another great piano, but I preferred this sound for this particular track. Cool, so that sounds amazing. And now for the chorus, we're going to simply bring everything back. And we could just leave it here, and by the time we add vocals and harmonies and ad-libs, it would sound full and sound like a chorus. However, I want to add a bit more of my own spin onto it and add some strings. Logic has really stepped up their string game, so I'm going to use one of the stock string instruments on this track. Cool, so we have the Abbey Road track stack, which is comprised of a cello, violin and viola, and we can play them all together, but I'm going to record them in separately as it gives me more control and I can be more purposeful in what I'm trying to create and convey. Cool, so let's start with the cello. Cool, so for our second pass, we're going to use a viola. And finally, let's lay down the violin. Cool, so we're kind of veering away from the Summer Walker sound, I think, a bit with these strings. I don't know, what do you think down in the comment section below, but I like it anyway. And we're going to finish this off by adding in some vocals just to get an idea of how this would sound as a complete record. So usually when I'm looking for vocals, I'm on Splice and I'm using the filter to narrow down my search. I'm looking for a female for this instance, a hook, and I want it to be close enough to my actual tempo of my track so the audio doesn't get destroyed too much when I'm changing the tempo. The key can also be a concern, so I'm also looking for one that is near enough to my key, maybe 1 or 2 semitones out, but ideally having it in the same key is going to give us the best audio quality. We're in F sharp minor, so the ones I found are perfect, and I've kind of put 2 separate loops together for our example for today.
Cruising, I don't wanna wait no more. Just want you in my ride. Cruising, pull up. I don't wanna wait no more. Just want you in my ride, yeah, in my right. I don't wanna wait no more. Just want you in my ride. Cruising, pull up. I don't wanna wait no more. Just want you in my ride, right.
This vocal reminds me more of Janae, but it's the closest I could find to anything that sounded remotely like Summer Walker, so I had to settle. Personally, I hear totally different melodies in my head, but I don't want to ruin this video with my terrible vocals. I'm not going to actually play the audio of the sample just to try and avoid any content ID copyright claims, but of course I'm going to show you and describe everything I've actually done to the sample. Cool, so I found the R&B song that I want to sample and I'm using Audio Hijack to record the song straight off of Apple Music. So now that I've captured the part that I want, I'm now able to import it straight into Logic Pro 10 and use the BPM counter to quickly find the tempo. 124.8 beats per minute. Sneaky, very sneaky. Don't you just love it when it's not a whole number? And that's the benefit of using this counter. It's not always perfect, but it can be a great help, especially when the original tempo isn't a whole number. Cool, so once we have the tempo, it becomes extremely easy to chop out the bits that we want. And having done that, we can then turn on flex, slicing, and set our tempo to whatever tempo we want. I just want a slight increase in tempo and of course a whole number. And before you say it down in the comment section below, I know we have a new sampler and there are other methods to sampling. However, I'm not looking to chop this sample up or play it on the keyboard or my drum pads or anything like that. It's a simple sample operation for today. We're just having this chorus part playing in our track. Anything to do with pitch, this is the one. Samples sound so much cleaner when pitching using this as opposed to Logic Pro 10's transpose. However, Logic Pro 10's algorithms have improved. Next, we're going to roll off the high end as this sample has vocals in it, and of course those vocals will heavily clash with the vocals for the main track. And we're also going to roll off quite a bit of the bottom so we can have a bit more freedom over what bass notes we want to play when it comes to writing our bass line. Lastly, let's add a phaser, and I'm using Native Instruments phasers here. This is my go-to phaser at the moment, and I'm just using the default patch, but this has some great presets. Cool, so that is a wrap. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe for more. If you have any questions or feedback, let me know down in the comment section below. And also, who should I produce for next? Let me know. I've been Stefan, and as always, happy beat making.